Hey friends, and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Morgan and this is Sam. And we've been lucky enough to have a good number of new subscribers, so we thought it'd be kind of fun to just do a sit down, drink a beer with us, hang out, and let's answer some of your questions. So let's jump into it. I asked on our YouTube just community page for you guys to ask us some questions, and we got some really great questions. So I'll just start them off and I will ask you majority of the questions. All right. First question is, where and how did we meet?
All right. So we actually met in Fort Collins, Colorado. At that time, I was the GM of the warehouse at the Anheuser-Busch facility out there, and was living in northern Colorado, and was very involved in the beer scene. Still am, and was just going over to another local brewery in Fort Collins at New Belgium, and just in there having a beer after work, and we're kind of in this back section, and well, I was in there. I didn't know anybody at all. We're sitting down at this table, and they closed it off for a private meeting. They were releasing a new beer. I think it was like Hemperus or something weird for just employees. But we both got trapped in this employee-only beer launch and meeting, and I was like, "Do you work here?" And she's like, "No, I don't work here." So we just played it off and pretend we were employees there, and then ended up going out to dinner after that, and the rest is history.
It's funny because they were having the employee potluck to kick this off, so we just kind of jumped in and joined the employee potluck, and
Yeah,
kind of a funny story.
Worked out.
All right, next question is what, we'll both answer this one. Favorite vacation we've ever taken? And our answers might be the same.
You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Say the location on 3. 1, 2, 3.
South
South Africa.
Africa.
Oh. So in November of 2019, Sam, we'll get into it later, but actually owns a company that is in the outdoors industry. And so he works and partners with a lot of various companies. And he met a person that has a hunting guiding outfitter in South Africa, kind of. And so he gave us a really great deal and let us go out there. We got to go on a 10-day hunt, I think, and stay out there in his little lodge that they had put together. We both got to hunt 3 animals.
Yep. So we got 6 animals total. We got a impala, a blessed buck, a kudu, a bush buck, a warthog, and a wildebeest.
So, and then after we did our hunt for however long we were there, we then went to Cape Town for another week. And so there we just kind of relaxed on the beach, hung out.
Went to wine country.
And it was super fun.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Would you go back?
In a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, me too.
Except she's got a drinking problem.
I thought it was more empty than that. Anyway, what is your favorite veggie in the garden to grow or to eat, since you prefer eating than growing?
I prefer either jalapenos or tomatoes.
Pretty much salsa.
Yeah, easy to get. Yeah, salsa. I don't know. I just like tomatoes too. I'll eat those like apples.
Mine is onions because they're really fun to store. You can eat them all year round, and then it makes you excited for gardening the next season. And potatoes, because it's like an adult Easter egg hunt when you're digging them up. It's kind of fun. Those would be my 2 favorites. All right, next question is, so we did a video of us flying over our property, and Sam was the one that was the pilot in that video. And so I think a lot of people think that Sam is a pilot for a living. And so the question is, I'm terrified of flying. You seem so relaxed. Do you also fly for a living? So neither of us actually fly for a living. Sam is a private pilot. Is that what it's called? And so we just have we actually just sold it, had a 2-person airplane. So I'm actually the world's worst flyer. Normally it ends up in me crying and in tears, so I wouldn't say that I'm a good flyer whatsoever. He normally does a pretty good job at explaining things, talking me through it, so I feel pretty calm. But yeah, neither of us are pilots, so you want to talk about what you do for a living?
Yeah, Yeah, so I guess to touch on the pilot thing more, that's just something I've always had a passion for. Actually, I had an appointment to go to Air Force Academy to play football and be a pilot there, but then YOM, 8 years of your life, it doesn't really mix well with what I've always been passionate about, hunting and fishing and things out there. So went a different route, went to engineering school, and just got my pilot's license for fun, and we're actually under contract now with a new bush plane, so we'll give you updates on that later. But so for an actual job, I do two things currently. I'm general manager of a brewery in Wyoming, but the primary thing is I own a company called Infinite Outdoors, which it's essentially like Airbnb, but for hunting and fishing properties for private landowners to list access to their land to make a little bit of extra money off of hunting and fishing without having to like lease away your hunting rights. So it's just a mobile app there, and so kind of a weird high-tech redneck thing that I started.
And we normally use it for the platform for, at least for our own purposes, for big game fishing and a lot of waterfowl. So this winter we'll obviously be doing waterfowl hunting. So we'll kind of show you what that looks like and how we can get access to some really awesome lands and take you along for that adventure too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And for me, I work in the agriculture industry with technology that goes inside tractors. So I do marketing for that industry. Another question is, do we raise any animals?
We do.
And do we raise bees? Those can go together.
Okay. So here at our actual little homestead and property in Wyoming, we have pack goats that we raise for as pack animals because they're cheaper and can go more places than a pack horse or pack llamas or things like that. So we have 5 of those that we're currently raising, and then we raise a bunch of ducks and a bunch of chickens.
Only 2 ducks. We don't really like ducks.
Yeah, ducks kind of stink. So that's mainly what we have here, and then we also farm. I have an alfalfa field and hay fields, so do that there. But then my family ranch that I grew up on, we raise yaks there, and it's probably the most remote ranch that there is in Colorado, which is how we got into yaks, because they're the only thing that's hardy enough to survive and dig through snow to find grass and all that throughout the winter. So that was kind of where all that started. We do not raise bees. I've proposed it multiple times. Morgan can't get her on board with that.
I'm scared of bees. I don't
afraid of
like
bees.
them. I don't want to mess with them. Maybe one day. And that also leads into a question of how we got into this lifestyle. And so I think Sam kind of grew up on a ranch, which kind of got him into it.
Yeah, I didn't really know anything else. We've always kind of been a weird blend of my parents. It wasn't their livelihood, but always grew up on a split time between a ranch or farmland, always on some sort of acreage. So that's kind of all I really knew. And Morgan was such a city slicker. She used to think the term was city liquor because she hadn't even been made fun of for being a city person before. So she's adopted it and found the love of it and grew into it later in life.
Yeah, I grew up gardening a lot with my mom. We always had a garden in the backyard, and so that's kind of how I learned that. So I've been gardening pretty much my entire life. But I didn't even have a dog growing up, so animals is a totally new beast for me, but I wouldn't want it any other way. I love it. How many years have we been gardening and kind of doing this whole thing?
Kind of different together, 3 years ish, and then for me it's been kind of some permutation of it for my entire life, so going on 30 years.
You're aging yourself. So Sam and I actually moved to the property that we're on like 3 years ago, and so that's obviously when we started all of this together. And we've just kind of slowly been acquiring animals. All of the animals that we've gotten here have been a learning process for both of us. Goats are new. All of that's pretty new, so it's been 3 years in this property, and before we both lived down in Colorado, so.
Yep.
Alrighty. What are our homesteading dreams? I like that question.
Go for it.
Well, I don't have an answer. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
For me, honestly, it's probably just to raise as much food and be as self-sufficient as we possibly can. I don't love buying everything. I know we can grow much higher quality. The food is so much better, and if we can preserve it in the summer when it's at the peak freshness to eat it throughout the winter, I know those are the meals that we like the most. And same with the meat. Like, we do a lot of hunting, as you can tell, so every time we eat, I mean, literally every meal we eat has some kind of game in it, and so it's fun to just have those memories. So honestly, it's just doing this and enjoying it and making sure that we're feeding our bodies with the best food that we can, but
Yeah.
the goal is to be happy.
Yeah, and make it more rounded. 'Cause I personally don't think I've bought meat from a grocery store in well over a decade at this point, probably more like 15 years. But there's still those holes in that. We still can't grow everything that we need, and there's still other forms of meat that just don't really have a lot of that. You know, it'll make us more tempted to go out to dinner once in a while for craving a pork chop or something. You know, so there's different things like that that we can continue to evolve into and do more of to be completely well-rounded and not have any dependencies.
Which is a good transition into what are we looking to do in the future here. And Sam mentioned pork chops, and we are picking up 2 pigs this spring, so that's going to be a totally new adventure for both of us. We've never really done anything with pigs, so we're excited for that. They're Idaho pasture pigs, so we'll be getting those in probably May. That's kind of all we have coming up.
Yeah, I think that's the big one.
Mm-hmm. Right. What Christmas traditions do you have?
I guess it's only like a 90% tradition, but I try to go goose hunting on Christmas and get a Christmas goose. So I've done that for a long time.
And it's, for me, my family, we grew up reading The Night Before Christmas, so it's a book that we would read with my grandma from the time that my oldest cousin was born, and now we still do it even with nieces and nephews and everything. So that's pretty much our only tradition, is we read The Night Before Christmas together and we record it, and we give a little update on where we are, how old we are, how tall we are, what we're doing, like what grade we were in or what we're doing for work. And it's fun because then we compile all of them and we can watch ourselves grow throughout the years and kind of see where we were. So we do that with my grandma every year. Any other questions you can think of?
Well, and the part that Morgan's always embarrassed to bring up is that she actually, on a whim, entered the Miss Wyoming USA competition this last year because she's 6 foot tall and skinny, and she won it. So Morgan represented Wyoming at the Miss USA competition, and was on national TV for all of that. So
Wyoming, Morgan McNally.
Kind of random, but definitely embodies Wyoming and our lifestyle, and isn't your typical type pageant girl.
I wouldn't say I'm embarrassed. I just never really talk about it because it's not.
You don't flaunt it. It's not.
Yeah,
not your identity.
it's just kind of a secondary thing. But I think it was really cool to be able to represent the state of Wyoming and just be true to the homesteading kind of lifestyle and hunting and fishing and all of that, and really just embody what Wyoming is. So I think it was a really fun opportunity, and it's cool to go to Miss USA and be in a room with 51 girls, one from every state.
Yeah, pretty cool experience.
Yeah. All right, that is all of the questions. Anything else for you?
Some really, really long back homesteading background. My family was actually on the original survey party that surveyed the boundaries of the state of Colorado, and had the family members, like the first mayor of Telluride, did all this stuff here. So we're kind of the original pioneers to Colorado and Wyoming before anybody was here, and kind of fun to continue that tradition.
So it's in your
150
blood.
years later.
It runs deep.
Yeah,
That is a cool fact. Anything else?
that's all I got.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining. Definitely make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of our adventures. I know we have some really fun videos and adventures coming up, and we appreciate you taking your time to come hang out with us. We will catch you in the next one. Bye.
Cheers.